Okay, sorry. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. For some reason, the previous stream did not have any sound. So we're gonna, let me see here if I can go back to this one over here. Let's see if you guys pop back in here really quick. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes to join back up and see if you guys have sound now. Let's see here. Do you have sound? Okay, sound is okay now. Okay, good. Great. All right, so we'll wait a couple minutes or a couple seconds for people to jump back in. All right, I don't know what the heck happened there. I think the program just went funky on me that I used. All right, perfect. We are back. All right, so let me start over. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is not what we expected to happen, or at least not what I expected to happen. Never had an issue like this before where there was no sound. Okay, so we are back. Okay. All right, so welcome back, everyone. Thank you for coming back into this live stream now. And yeah, Bitcoin obviously didn't do what we expected it to do. I kind of expected Bitcoin to go down a little bit more today, and it did. But there's also a lot of pessimism in the space, not only here on YouTube, but also on Twitter or on X, where people are just, they're giving up on the Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. More so on the Bitcoin miners than Bitcoin itself, it seems like. But we have a couple of stories to talk about. We have Wolf getting an HPC deal, which I think is a good one there. Not great, but good. We'll talk about that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it as well. And then we'll talk about Iren getting to 31 exahash, Cleanspark getting to 37.5 exahash. We'll cover those two stories as well. We'll get into your Q&A side of things here. But going back to Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, it's not playing out the way I thought it was going to play out. I'll be honest with you guys. I thought with Bitcoin going from 60-some thousand to 108,000 that the miners would do much better. They haven't, right? For the most part, the miners have been, oh my gosh, they've been a pain in our rears, I guess you could say. They haven't done nowhere near what we expected, or nowhere near at least as where I expected them to be. So it is, unfortunately to say, it is a different cycle. I think because we have so much institution play in this space right now, that it is possibly keeping the miners down for some reason. I think it's just a leverage play that they're doing with Bitcoin and maybe MicroStrategy as well, and then they're shorting the miners. That could be a possibility there. I don't have a 100% vindication, or maybe not vindication, maybe not the right word, but 100%. Gosh, yeah, you guys know what I mean. But 100%, I'm not 100% sure that that's the case. I think that has a huge part of it going into where we are right now. We've also had this cycle here. We've had the ETFs being introduced in basically January of this year. Bitcoin ran up like crazy before the halving event. That has never happened before, where it reached a new all-time high. And then we had the halving event. The miners got beaten down because of it. The miners being down now as well. And eventually I think that is going to flip. I don't know exactly when that's going to be. I'm guessing within the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, but I believe that's going to flip. And the reason I believe that, and I keep saying this before, as I've said before, is Bitcoin price going up is going to yield much better profit margins for the miners, which then should boost the stocks up even higher as it is. But let's get into what we have here with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, see how they did today. It wasn't a good day. Some did better than others, but it wasn't a good day. But as always, you guys know we got to do this legalese thing here. Not financial advice for intent only. Do your own research. Full disclosure down below that as well. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin here really quick and the miners. So Bitcoin was down today. It went below our 50-day simple moving average, which is our kind of like purple line here. Dark blue, purple line, whatever you want to call it on this one. We'll zoom this in really good. And you can see that we did fall below that. And we are still below it right now. So in yesterday's video, I talked about, is there a possibility Bitcoin going down to like 75, 80,000? I think the possibility is still there. It hasn't, it hasn't changed at all from what I'm seeing here right now. And like I've said before, we've had these 25, 30% corrections in Bitcoin. We had another today going down to, from where we were, down to here was about 14, roughly 15% correction, more or less. Could we go down another 10% to 15%? Sure, it's all definitely possible. And that is usually a healthy sign for Bitcoin in general to go up even potentially higher. And the reason I still think that's the case here is there might be some longs in here that need to get cleared out as well. There might be other, there might be other guiding principles in here where the institutions are like, all right, we'll run it up, and then we'll bring it back down. We'll make money on the way up, and we'll make money on the way down, and then we'll make money on the way up again. So we are a little bit at their mercy, unfortunately, this cycle more so than we were at last cycle. Last cycle, we did not have as many institutions getting into these miners like we do this cycle. So it is different in that regard as well. So something to keep in mind there, okay? But we did have Bitcoin being down today just a little bit. It did pull back up towards the end of the day. We closed at 94,764. We were down only 0.34%. At one point, we were down like 2-point-something%, almost 3% down on Bitcoin during the day. We are down a little bit more here in the new day. We're down another almost 1% on it. We are right now at 93,000. The 92,000 mark has been a pretty strong, well, I wouldn't say really, really strong support, but we've had at least 2 touches right around the 92,000 mark here on that, and it's played out pretty well as a support back here as well. We saw it bounce off of that, and we saw it as a resistance here in the past as well, and it bounced off of it as also. So it could be a good support line for us. If we don't hold that line, we might be coming back down to like the next line possibly would be like right around here, 80,000 or so. At that point, 80 to 75,000 somewhere. So just be mindful of that. Now, the miners, including MicroStrategy was down quite a bit today. It was down 8.78% on the day, with Bitcoin being down only a little bit. But the miners also were down quite a bit, except for BitDeer for some reason was up 0.15% on the day. Everybody else was down. Bitfarms was down 5%. Cypher was down almost 9%. Cleanspark was down almost 8%. CORZ just a little bit here. CORZ, if you notice, also has been doing actually pretty well here. When it comes to Bitcoin coming down in price, CORZ kind of holds its price level. And I think that's because the contract that they have with CoreWeave that's going to be generating revenue here for them in the next 6 months or so. So I think that's the reason why it's holding up better than others for the most part. If you look at it here, it's been bouncing, sure, but it's been holding up a little bit better than some of the other miners here on it. Hive was down 5%, Hut 8 was down 8.5%, Iren was down 4 3/4, Mara was down 3.5%, Riot was down 6.5% roughly, and Terawulf, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, was down 12%. I think it might be one of those things where it's buy the rumor, sell the news events, or it could be also where some of the investors are not maybe as happy with the HPC deal that they got there as they probably, maybe they over-expected or I wouldn't say analyzed, but maybe they thought the deal was going to be better than what it is, okay? So that's how that all played out. And then I think I missed Cleanspark. Cleanspark was down almost 8%, 7.9 as well. On that, small miners were down also single digits, so it wasn't too bad. And the ETFs were down as well, single digits. So kind of following Bitcoin here. Are we getting manipulated? Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting manipulated. Eventually, like I said, I think eventually we'll stop on it. So depending on where we end up with Bitcoin, I'm right now actually looking for extra change in cash to plow some more into the miners in the next, maybe not this week, but possibly the following week as well. I'll see where things end up at that point. But I'm looking to definitely buy into this dip as things progress. I still don't believe that this is the bottom of it, not with all the adoption that we have possibly happening for us. Okay, so that's it on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin right now is down 1% for December. So it kind of pulled back up a little bit from where it was yesterday. I think yesterday was like down 2% or 3% on the monthly. We'll see where it actually ends up at. Could we get a Senate rally tomorrow? Oh, gosh, I'd love to see a Senate rally a little bit, but I doubt that's going to happen here for us. All right. So the couple of stories that we do have here are going to be, the first one is going to be on Cleanspark. We'll just go in alphabetical order on these guys. So Cleanspark exceeds 2024 year-end guidance of 37 exahash and accelerates 2025 guidance. Great news here, obviously. We talked about this a little bit when they announced the convertible notes. But today they announced it has achieved and exceeded the previously announced year-end target of 37 exahash. They got to 37.5 exahash. That's really good. If you recall, in some of the earlier streams that we did in the year where they were targeting to get to like 37 exahash or something like that, I was a little hesitant on that, mainly because of, one, they needed to buy a bunch of sites and then get a bunch of megawatts installed as well to reach that. But they did it. I had them at a high probability of getting there, but it wasn't 100%. But they did it. So congrats to the Cleanspark team there. They did it again this time around as well this year, getting to their targets as also. So continuing on here, the company's newest data centers in Tennessee and Wyoming were energized last week. This is part of the multi-stage energization process that will continue into next quarter. The added hash rate from these sites paired with site expansion and ongoing fleet upgrades has allowed the company to exceed 2024 year-end guidance and deliver 37.5 exahash of operating hash rate. So again, great job there. Fleet efficiency has reached 17.7 joules per terahash and is expected to continue to improve as the company continues its strategic growth plans. The company expects its operating leverage to continue to increase as it proceeds with the next phase of growth to 50 exahash, which is fully funded and expected in the first half of 2025. Okay, so that's good news there, right? We're getting to 50 exahash in the first half. Could we get there in the first quarter? I don't know, but that would be great. This growth is expected to be achieved through a mix of greenfield infrastructure development, organic growth via existing site expansion, and strategic M&A, all funded with a portion of the proceeds of the company's most recent offering, which was the convertible notes. And they go on to talk about it here. With the closing of our $650 million zero-coupon convertible bond offering, exceeding guidance and delivering on our fleet efficiency goals, December has been one of Cleanspark's strongest strategic months to date. The capital raise is expected to more than fully fund our expansion at 50 exahash. As a result, we are pleased to announce accelerated expected timing of 50 exahash to be the first half of calendar year 2025. So that's awesome. Where will they get to by the end of the year? Could they get to like 60, 70, 75? Maybe, depending on what they actually do, right? So this is great news from them getting to those targets, and they are, in my opinion, currently way, way undervalued as it is based on what they're operating right now at and the future potential that they have there going forward as well. They are definitely getting to scale, which is important with these Bitcoin miners. I've talked about this in the past as well. They need to get to scale because once you get to scale, all of the other costs that you have, like SG&A and everything else, becomes much smaller of a percentage of your total revenues. So that is an important part here, especially as they go to 50 exahash. That will help even more, right? And if Bitcoin continues to go up here in the next 3, 6, 9 months, whatever it might be, that's going to be a huge benefit to them going forward as well. All right, next here is going to be Iren. Iren also, terrific job here. So Iren achieves 31 exahash year-end target. They, if you recall back in March or April, I can't remember exact month that they put out the release, that they are going to be getting to 20 exahash by the end of Q3 and getting to like 30 exahash by the end of Q4. They have done it. So congrats to these guys here. They were one of the ones that I thought could possibly do it because they have one single site, Childress, where they can build out a lot and build out relatively quickly here. So they were able to do that. But today they announced it has reached its year-end target of 31 exahash installed self-mining capacity, surpassing its original goal of 20 exahash, which they obviously updated and increased partially in this year. This year began with just 20 megawatts of operating data centers at Childress, and we successfully expanded that footprint more than 17-fold to 350 megawatts. So great job by them, and you can see the pictures here of the site here as it is right now, phase 1, and then they got phases 4 and 5. They're going to be adding some more megawatts there as well. Going down here, 31 exahash milestone achieved. Following completion of Childress phase 3, Iren has increased its installed self-mining capacity from 28 exahash to 31 exahash, achieving 15 joules per terahash efficiency with 510 megawatts of operating data centers. Wow, that's really good there. And then Childress now supports 350 megawatts of operating capacity with an additional 400 megawatts of available power at the 750 megawatt project, enabling further expansion into 2025. They are on track to 50 exahash in the first half of 2025, similar to what Cleanspark is doing, right? So these guys are battling to get to 50 exahash as well, along with Mawson now, I believe, at 50 exahash as well. So there's like 3 companies here that are really, really, really trying to get to 50 exahash and beyond and become the top miner here, which is very exciting and interesting as well to see which ones, well, we know Mara reached it, but which ones can grow beyond that as well. But it's a nice, I guess you could say, a horse race between the 3 of them there. Iren remains well positioned to achieve its next growth target of 50 exahash by H1 2025, supported by ongoing construction. Long lead time procurement has been obviously purchased, proven execution. They've done a fantastic job growing here this past year. And then the S21 Pro miners secured. They have a pre-purchase at a fixed price option of $18.90 per terahash. That is an option to buy. Wow. excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. But that is a pre-purchased option that I don't know if that has been executed yet. Once I get some clarification from them on that, I will add that to their future hash rate growth. But we're getting close to that as it is. Wow. Sorry, my throat is drying up here. Talking too long. Okay. And I was talking for a couple of minutes here without you guys hearing me too. But there's a site. I mean, look at this. One row of data centers. You got all the vents here pulling air out or blowing the hot air out into it. And you got a lot of buildings here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 buildings. And these things are pretty massive here. So congrats to them for being able to build this out so quickly here in basically a year's time on it. Okay. And there's the rest of it. They're progressing here on that. Phases 4 and 5, another 300 megawatts. And that's it. So congrats again to Cleanspark and Iren for reaching their targets. Marathon also for reaching their targets this year. Riot is a little bit behind on other targets, not much. Bitfarms is behind on their targets. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that got close to their targets or at least met their targets. I think those are basically the three there that have done it right now. All right, the big story today is obviously Terawulf. We talked about this, or at least I talked about this, that they really need to provide a deal here, and they did. They provided, I believe, a pretty good deal here for them going into it. We'll expand on it. I did listen into the conference call. I took a bunch of notes here. So let's go through the announcement here first, and then we'll get into my notes that I have on the conference call that they had based on it. So Terawulf today announced the signing of a long-term data center lease agreement with Core42, a G42 company specializing in sovereign cloud, AI infrastructure, and digital services. Under the data center lease agreements, Terawulf will deliver over 70 megawatts of turnkey data center infrastructure to host Core42's deployment at the Lake Mariner facility in upstate New York. The infrastructure will be released for production phases between Q1 and Q3. So they're going to be building this out as time goes on. And then Terawulf will customize the data center data halls to support Core42's GPUs cluster, which will feature state-of-the-art Dell integrated rack scalable solutions, the Dell IR5000. These integrated racks include direct liquid cooled Dell PowerEdge XE96080LL GPU servers and will come online in phases. Okay, so that's all good there. Not a lot of details as far as the revenue there that's going to be made. They provide that more in the conference call there. Financial highlights. So the data center lease includes 2 5-year renewal options, providing a long-term, stable, high-margin revenue stream for Terawulf. Additionally, the data center lease agreements include provisions for expanding near-term hosting capacity for Core42 by an additional 135 megawatt gross, which is equivalent to 108 megawatts of critical IT load, underscoring the potential for future scalability and revenue growth. One thing that I'm confused on, and maybe they can provide some, maybe it's just me that I'm confused on, but the original deal was for 72, and they're saying gross 135 megawatts, so they didn't state that it would be 72 plus 135, which would get us to close to 200 megawatts. I think it would be just an additional, I could be wrong on this, but I'm thinking it could be just an increase of approximately, what is it going to be, 60 megawatts for a total of 135 megawatts gross. I'd like a little bit of clarification on it, because even in the, wow, my voice today. Sorry. In the press release or in the conference call, they also said 135 megawatts gross. They didn't state 200 megawatts gross on it. So it looks like the top might be 135 megawatts gross, but I could be wrong on that. Okay, the advisors were JP Morgan Stanley and Milbank LLP, Stoltzman, You guys can read that on your own. Here, but here's what I got from the conference call on it. Let's go into this over here. Got a bunch of notes that I took part of it on today. So rollout, like we said, was going to be approximately 3 quarters over the next 3 quarters, which is good. Core42 is going to supply the servers there. So basically what Terawulf was doing is building out the data centers for them, and then they're going to be equipping all the HPCs and everything else, which is the really expensive part of it. It is a 10-year contract with 2 possible 5-year extensions on top of it, so you're looking at 20 years in total. It is 60 megawatts critical IT load, 72.5 megawatts full load right now. They are going to be getting about 1.5 million per megawatt per year, with a 3% annual increase on top of that. Okay, so I ran some numbers on this. We'll go over the numbers that I have here shortly. They also are getting a 12-month prepayment that is going to be repaid at 50% per month until a repayment. So I'm guessing that's going to be roughly 2 years on the repayment side of things. And then expanded option to 135 megawatts, 108 megawatts critical IT load, because kind of like what I talked about here. They did state also that's going to be about 6 to 8 million per megawatts to build out cost. Okay, so that's going to be important here going forward. We'll look at that as well. Profit margin should be about 72% after they pay them the 50% per month to give them back the 12 months in advance that they got. And then they're talking about a 17% yield after they build out the infrastructure and all that stuff. They are fully funded by selling their JV, right? They sold that a couple of months ago here, and the convertible debt that they have recently as well. So that's going to be funding that's going to be quite a bit here. We'll look at the numbers here shortly, but that's several $100 million in order to build that out, if my math is correct and the way I'm understanding this correct also. Okay, so definitely very, very interesting here. Is it what we were all hoping for? I don't know, right? It is, at least they got an HPCI deal, which is a good thing. Nonetheless, the deal, was it a great deal? No. Was it a good deal? I think it was a good deal. And let's take a look at the numbers that I have here for them really quick, and I'll give you guys my thoughts as to why I think it's a good deal, but not a great deal. So let's go back into the screen here and go over here. So I was looking at Cleanspark, Terawulf. Okay. Terawulf right now, if we go down here, we'll get into some numbers up top here in a second. But I pulled in the data here from the conference call, everything else. Like I told you guys, they said 6 to 8 million mentioned to build out per megawatt. I set them at 7 million just to be kind of in the middle, somewhere around there. Right? We can change the numbers if we want to, but it's 72.5 megawatts. Total cost to build that out is, let me see if I can zoom this in for you guys, maybe a little bit bigger. Make it, there we go. So total cost is going to be about 507 million at 7 million per megawatt at that point, right? Revenue per megawatt is going to be 1.5 million. Annual revenue times 12 months, you get to, why do I have that? 72 megawatts times, 1.5 million. We get to 108 million here, 750,000 in revenue for them. They do have a 3% annual increase on that. So I broke it down here. The first year, profit 50%, right, of profit of 72%, or they're repaying 50% of that, right? And profit is going to be at 72%. So take out the electricity for it, and then we're getting about 39 million. 39 million is what they're going to be paying back to them. Yeah, back to the company if they're doing. So it might be actually like 3 years, actually, if I'm looking at this right, because you got 40 million, 2.5 years roughly, more or less, right? Rounding error on that part. Because you got 80 million here, and they're generating 108 million. So if they're prepaying the first 12 months, 108 million roughly, it could be less because you're not going to be getting everything installed all at once. So I just say 2 years is going to be the rate to pay them back. After that, you're basically getting everything at that point with 72% profit margin, more or less. So here we have year 1, year 2, right? 50% is going back to repay the 12 months upfront that they're getting from them. And then year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right there is where we're getting at. The 3% is being increased here on the revenue. So by year 10, they could be at about 141 million in revenue from them on it. And it's looking like it would take them approximately 6 years to get an ROI on their investment in the data center. So if you're spending 507 million, how long will it take you to get there? This obviously does not include any other costs that are going to be associated with it to operate monthly, daily. Basically, you're going to need people there to operate it, things like that. That's not taken into consideration any of those costs. So I'm just looking at simple, how much did you pay for it? How much revenue you're going to be getting? What's the profit margin on it? And when's the ROI going to be on it? So we're looking at about 6 years to get an ROI on that, even though they are fully funded, yes, but obviously them getting convertible debts, they're going to have to either pay off the convertible debts, which would then obviously come from revenues, or they could dilute shares. So that's going to be also a cost to the shareholders there. So that's why I'm saying it's about 6 years ROI. Going into 10 years, they would, after 10 years, have about a profit of about 310 million if you pay off, obviously, the cost to build out the data center. They would have 310 million at that point. If they extend the contracts for another additional 2 cycles of 5 years. You're looking at 20 years. At that point, they would have about 1.5 billion in revenue here from them on it. And if we're looking over here, this would be the first 10 years, right? 310 million in revenue from that. And then after that, it would be 1.5 billion on it. So it would be ideal if they could extend the contract all the way up to 20 years for them. Because based on the first 10 years, if you take the 310 million in revenue after costs, right, to build out the data center and everything else, you're looking at an average of about 31 million per year in revenue over those 10 years, right? Not that great. But if you extend it out to 20 years, then you're looking at a lot better. You're looking at 75 million per year on average if you extend it, average it out over 20 years. So that does look a lot better for them at that point. Going here, let's see here. Yeah. Total 10 years revenue would be about 1.25 billion roughly in revenue. Going to 20 years, you're looking at roughly about 3 billion in revenue on them as well. But if you look at just the net profit or gross profit, I guess it would be at 72%, which they mentioned there, you're looking at about 2 billion on that side of things. Take out the cost of the facility and you're at 1.5 basically, right? It's kind of what we have here. So that's why I say it's a good deal. It's not a great deal. I believe Core and the deal that they struck with CoreWeave, they're basically paying that off in about 2 years. They're getting basically ROI back after that point, I believe. CoreWeave is also funding them the money to build out the infrastructure and everything else. So it is a little bit different deal in the way that I see things here. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm viewing this the wrong way. But this is just kind of the way I'm seeing it right now. But like I said, I think it's a good deal for them. This is stable revenue going forward for them. The thing that they're going to have to do going forward is possibly build out some more HPCI data centers, right? Get other customers in there or grow with this current customer to 135 megawatts, which would then also be increasing their numbers and revenues and everything else in here. Grow their Bitcoin mining as well. They could also do that as well. So they have a couple optionalities here. But based on this information that we have right now of what they're going to be generating here in the next possible year, which is also, I'm being very generous on them. If we look at the numbers up top here, for what they mined here in November, plus I'm adding in the revenue for the year of 108 million basically, which is obviously not going to be a full 108, but I'm being generous at that point and multiplying it times 12 months for the Bitcoin mining side of things. I have them at 227 million in revenue here for them. And then if we look at 50% net income, I have them between 442 at a P of 15 and 663, also a P of 15 right now at 75% net income. So that's kind of close to where they probably should be. So at 663, they're at 581. I think they're kind of a little bit undervalued from where they probably would be, or more or less fairly valued between these two numbers here, these two figures, right? Depending how they do on their Bitcoin mining side of the business, how profitable that is, whether it's 50% or higher. So I think they're kind of actually well valued right now. Did they kind of overshoot this possibly? Yeah, they got up to like $9 or something like that at one point, I believe. If we look at it over here, we can see Wolf got up to, $9.30. I think they kind of overshot this a little bit. I think there was a little bit too much exuberance in their potential to get a sizable HPCI deal. And it's came back down a little bit, but I think right now they're pretty well valued as it is. So I no longer think that they are overvalued. I think that they are well valued right now. Things could change, obviously, as Bitcoin price goes up in value. They're mining more or mining the same amount, but revenues are increasing on that side of things. They could go up with that as well on it. And then if also they get another HPCI deal or something like that, that could also offset, increase their potential there to go forward in revenues and... Oh, I got to sneeze here. Oh, geez. Yeah, excuse me. That came out of nowhere. Okay. But yeah, they'd have the potential there. So, like I said, I think it's a good deal. It's not a great deal, but it is a good deal for them going forward. The thing that's going to dictate the price going forward, I think, though, is one, how well they build out their Bitcoin mining sites, and then how many new customers they get for HPCI. I think those things will dictate where the price goes going forward, more so than anything else. All right, so that's it. Spreadsheets. I didn't get the spreadsheets out today. Today was a crazy day for me. Actually, at work, we're doing a bunch of reviews for our end of the year employees and everything else. I was just busy during lunch and all that stuff. So we'll get these out I promise. I'll get those out either tonight. I will get those. No, I will get those out tonight. I got to get this out to you guys, to the Patreon members especially. So these things will be coming out. And yeah, link if you want to become a Patreon member and have access to all of my spreadsheets. Link is down in the description for that. All right, but let's get into your Q&A side of things here before I go on a sneezing spree here, which I feel like is coming on here. My allergies are starting to kick on again. All right, there's the Q&A. Apologize for the sniffles. As always, question marks, if you could preface them with a question mark or a Q, something like that. And then I'm going to scroll up a little bit to see if I can find some questions. And I'm going to work my way down as well. So I'll try to get to all you guys' questions before we are completely done. Let me see. I'm scrolling up here a little bit. Let's see, where are we? Okay, I think we'll start. Yeah, I'll start right here with Alexander Huck's question. If Cleanspark doesn't perform well this cycle, what are the options holding it from a longer-term play? I think it's a Bitcoin. Bitcoin's holding it from a longer-term play. If it doesn't perform well this cycle, and well, I mean by Bitcoin going to like 200,000, 250,000, whatever it might be, and it's still, under $20, right? That's, to me, that's not performing well. If it gets to like $30, $40, okay, that's a little bit better. It's still not where I thought it was going to go, but it's definitely better from where it's been. So I think Bitcoin would be the only thing holding it down. If Bitcoin has another cycle where we go down, then it would definitely bring all the miners down as well at that point. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? All right. What do you think about the mining company's dilution compared their historical amount, which is increased? Can we still expect miners' share price will reach their payment in the wrong time tonight? I do think so, because they've grown so much from where they were actually just a couple years ago at the last cycle peak. So they've grown tremendously here. Oh gosh, I'm gonna. Oh man, that is rough. Okay, but yeah, I think that they still could reach their all-time highs as long as Bitcoin goes to like 200,000, 250,000, and as long as they cooperate. They haven't cooperated here recently, and I think that's because they've been kept down because of the big guys here. Let's see. Okay, Perry Lynn says the option is for 135 megawatts additional. They use gross to account for the PUE 108 megawatts revenue-wise. Okay, so that's, yeah, so that would be a total 135 megawatts? That's where I'm confused on it. Let's see, what is wrong with Wolf? When will it go back to 8? Face pink tears. Well, there's nothing wrong with Wolf. I think the deal that they got is good, but it isn't probably as great as maybe some people were thinking it's going to be. So that's kind of where the stock was down today because of that, I think. Kay asks question, Sebastian, what month are you planning on getting out of miners? Do you think BTC is topping and miners are as well now? One last push before things look ugly. Oh gosh. And these allergies. So let's see, what month am I planning to get out? I'm planning to start slowly getting out of the miners. When Bitcoin gets to like 150,000, I'm going to start taking out like 5% here, 5% there as time goes on. And then do you think the BTC is topping in the miners as well? I don't think so. No. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to prevent myself from sneezing right now. I mean, you guys can see probably my eyes are watery. Let's see. Let's see here. Anthony Power has been dumping Wolf all year long. He said thanks to the bag holders. And I don't really. I thought Anthony was buying them. I know he bought them pretty low, but maybe he has been selling because he got in at a pretty low price. Let's see here. HPCI seem like a really bad deal for miners. It's super expensive, and you've to upgrade the infrastructure every 2 years. I don't know about the infrastructure if you have to update that. I could be wrong on that. If you get into the liquid cooled side of things, and if you have that in place, I think you can possibly use those for a number of years, more than 2 years though. Let's see, Sam Foods asks, Cleanspark and Iren targets achieved, but stocks were down. Alts are down, but more stable as compared to miners as well. What's the reason? Oh gosh, now I'm getting a runny nose. I think it's because of I still think it's because of the big guys. They are manipulating the miners. They're shorting the miners. I think that's the main reason there, because really they shouldn't be valued as low as they are right now. Sam says, Merry Christmas to you and to your family. Thank you so much, and also to you and yours. Question from Hot Water here. Seb, can you help check and compare the miners' profits as of right now and before the halving? Also, can you explain how the BTC hash rate affect miners' price and profit too? Yeah, so first I'll start with the BTC hash rate. So as the BTC hash rate goes up, right, as it continues to go up, if the miners are not keeping up with the percentage gains in the network hash rate, they're going to be generating less revenue. But they can be offset by Bitcoin price. Bitcoin price goes up more than the network hash rate, they can actually generate more. So there's like really, then you also have like, there's really like 4 levers, I guess you could say. You got price of electricity at one point, you got the hash rate, and you got Bitcoin. So it's actually 3 really. And then you got them also growing. If they're not growing, so there's really 4 levers you could possibly turn. Any one of those things can offset the other ones a little bit. So that's always tricky to see that. And then can you compare the profits right now before the halving versus the right now and before the halving? Yeah. If you want to do that, we can definitely do that. We'll look at all of these guys here really quick. I might charts really quick. Profits going up here. So you got April was the halving event, right? So here's BitDeer, 19.9 million before the halving event. They're at 12.9, so they haven't really, gotten back to that halving event. They've been slow to grow. Bitfarms was at 19.36 million. They're at 17. They're getting closer. They've definitely installed quite a bit of hash rate there, so they're getting closer to that as well. Bitcoin's been going up in value as well, so that's definitely helping things out. Cypher was at 18.8 before the halving event. Last month they were at 13.7, better from where they were at 8 million, so that's improving, but it's also because of Bitcoin price going up. You can see that their hash rate has been improving also on that side of things. Cleanspark here for March was at 54. They came pretty close, 53.85. And you can see that their hash rate has pretty much doubled from where they were at that point, right? 32 million. They're at 33. They're at 37 right now. So they should generate more in December here than they did in March pre-halving as well. CORZ Scientific, that one was at 61 million. They're 1/3 of, or close to 1/3 of where they were. And that's the reason, because their hash rate has not been growing at all, right? So hash rate's not been growing. Network hash rate has been growing. They're coming down, but you've seen Bitcoin price going up. They're generating more big revenue here. Hive, going to Hive here, they were at 15 million. They're still about half of where they were at 8.9. Their hash rate has been growing, but it's been growing slowly. That's a result of that. Hut 8 was at 15.6. They're about half of that as well at 8 million right now. Their hash rate has been basically flat. No growth there. On that one, Iren here was at 23.9 as of March. They are, as of November, 32.8. They installed fantastically. They installed basically, was it 3-point-something X of hash rate here over that time frame, and that's a result. You're going to start getting more revenue because of it. Marathon was at 52.9. They're at 76. Same thing. They installed a lot, but their also operations have improved. That's a big thing for them. They were operating pretty crappily, I guess you could say, after December. Numbers for them. But those have definitely improved here in November, so that's the reason for that as well. Plus, they grew their hash rate, doubled their hash rate almost on that one. And then Riot here was in March, 28.7 million. They grew their hash rate quite nicely as well, almost a 3x on that hash rate growth. They're at 42.85 million, so they have definitely improved from that time frame as well. And then you got Terawulf here. Terawulf was at 19.6. They are now at 19.9, so about half of where they were. Hash rate was going up, and then they actually sold a portion of their JV and got rid of some of those older miners, and they're still growing their hash rate there, but that's kind of the reason what you're seeing there on it. Okay. So that's all of that. Ah, man. You got sniffles and runny nose. Okay, Sam asks, historically is in a parabolic phase, whether miners go up at the same time or different miners at different times. Thanks. Miners typically go up at the same time, but some may go up faster, higher than others. And that's kind of what we've seen there. Andrea asks, Seb, what catalyst do you think we need for money to pour into the mining stocks? The ETFs, alts, MicroStrategy, and Bitcoin seem to be getting all the inflows. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think we're going to need to see a rotation happening from some of those things into the miners again. That's kind of where the money's going to be coming from at that point, I think. Now, I mean, I think it's that, and shorting has to kind of subside on those guys as well. Let's see here. Gary says, hyperscalers must be stupid buying into HPC AI hype when the smart money is all going into Bitcoin miners. Ramni, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hi, I tagged you in X, and Cleanspark valuation post today isn't 75%, and our margin unrealistic. Even in the bullish scenario, NI margin is 53 at best, and all cost of mining it for Cleanspark is greater than 90. Well, depending what you use for all in cost. If you're using also depreciation, stock-based compensation, all that stuff, then yeah, we might be closer to 90% or something like that, or 90,000. I look at all cash costs. Cash costs is what really should be looking at, I believe, on it. And at that point, they're probably like around 60,000, between 50 and 60,000 somewhere around there. That's kind of where they should be at that point right now. And then as they grow their hash rate even more, that should be staying flat or maybe coming down a little bit as well. And as long as their SG&A stays low, other things like that, that should help out. But 75%, when I look at that, it's when Bitcoin's at pretty much like its peak, right? When Bitcoin goes to, let's say Bitcoin peaks at 250,000 at that point, that's kind of where I'm looking at with the 75% comparison to it. Okay. And I think I saw your post on X. I was just busy with other things as well, so I do apologize for not responding. I try to respond as much as I can. Time is limited, though. Question: should I sell BitDeer and buy Mara, or BitDeer stock can go up much higher? That's BitDeer is an interesting one. They have a nice vertical integration, right? They have their own ASIC machines that they're building and putting into their own sites. So they have a low cost there. That should be helping them out. They also have a lot of growth happening here. A lot of their growth is going to be happening in the second half of 2025 and into 2026 as well. Which, for me, at least I thought that cycle was going to be getting close to it being over at that point. But maybe investors here are looking more towards that end, and we could have an extended cycle. So I don't know. I think BitDeer right now, based on what they have right now, I think is overvalued. But future potential, I think it has huge future potential, possibly. So that's your call there. Let's see here. I said possible miners still get shorted and never go up though with good earnings next year. I mean, possibility is always there, right? We don't know what the big guys are going to do. I would think that they would want to let them run and get a 2, 3, maybe 5x on these guys, when they do release them. I mean, can you get much better returns that way than shorting them? Yeah. So that's kind of the way I look at it. How do you think Cleanspark and CORZ will move into the new year? Into the new year, like in 2025, I would expect them to do pretty well. I would expect them to do much better than they have done here, at least. Well, CORZ has done really well, actually, this year. Cleanspark has sputtered, it hasn't done great. So I would expect Cleanspark to possibly improve from where they were this year and do much better going forward, especially as they grow to the 50 exahash. Bitcoin gets up to 150,000, 200,000, whatever it might be. Things might look better for them at that point. So when do you think the manipulation on companies like Cleanspark and Mara would end? I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks. They got to, subside on that sometime. Do you still feel positive for 3 to X the cycle? Shorting seems never-ending loop here. Yeah, that's kind of what I just talked about here on the shorting side of things, right? You short them, if you short a company, you can only go down 100% on it, right? Sorry about my sniffles. Where if you let them run, you could get the 3 to 5x on them. So I think the 3x is still doable on these guys. 5x, we definitely need Bitcoin to go much higher, and we also need the shorts to subside. Roger asks, question, what if at 150,000 the miners still don't follow BTC up 250,000? Would you still stay in or get out? Yeah, that's where it gets a little tricky, right? Are they being really held back at that point so much, it would definitely be a time of reflection, I guess you could say, for me in this space. And we would have to see what's going on there at that point. And then, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Anthony Power said he started buying Wolf at 46 cents. Yeah, so if we got up to $6, $7, $8, $9, I don't blame the guy for selling. All right. Let's see. Question, Seb. I have about 28,000 cash on the sideline. I think the dip will continue for a little bit. I'm looking to buy up a lot of Cleanspark and Iren, but what if the top is 125,000? Well, my original targets for this cycle was about 180,000. This was before all of the adoption that we might be seeing here with Bitcoin being used as a strategic reserve, not only by our country, the United States, but also other countries as well, states, all those things. So I really don't see 125,000. I could be way off on this. I could be just too bull on it, maybe. But 125,000, I just don't see that. But we'll see it. But yeah, if you have cash on the sidelines, I'm trying to scrounge up some cash also to buy some more if it dips some more. So I'll be buying as well. I mean, that's completely up to you there if you want to chance it some more. Let's see. Who will you buying at the end of the year? If I'm going to be buying, I'm still going to be buying Cleanspark Iren. And then if Bitfarms dips a lot lower, I'm going to possibly buy that one. And then there's also Riot if they come in with good numbers for December, along with Mara. Those would be ones I would be looking to get into as well. Karen asks if investors are not happy with Wolf, will they pump Bitfarms now? Probably not. We'll see on that one. Let's see. Do you see CORZ being over or undervalued right now? Let me see here. Let's take a look at CORZ. Let's see. Where's it at? CORZ Scientific. Here are my numbers right now. So I'm using, I think the best thing to look for them is use the numbers from November mining revenue, adding on top of their HPCI revenue here, which I added at, once they do start running up, that's, what is it, 500 million or something like that per year, roughly. I'm between 22.19 and 33.29. They're at 14.05. I still think that they're undervalued from where they probably should be because based on investor sentiment is usually forward-looking, right? They're going to be generating that revenue in the next possibly year or so. So yeah, I think that they are undervalued right now as it is. All right, going back here. Hot Water, thank you so much for the super chat. Merry Christmas. Thanks for all your hard work. You're very welcome, and thank you so much. And Merry Christmas to you and your family as well. Hi, Seb. Happy holidays. Do you think Bitfarms will implement reverse split as after using the ATM? Do you think they can recover after reverse split? Ben has stated before that they are not looking into a reverse split. I think they know that historically reverse splits are not viewed favorably by institutions and investors in general. So I don't know if they need to do that. Plus their shares, yes, they're at like 400 million some odd shares, but we got companies here that have 380 million. They're not too far off from where Bitfarms is right now. So I don't think it's needed, at least not yet. Right, let's see here. Question, any thoughts on Bitcoin Cash? Will it go much higher compared to Bitcoin? I don't know. I don't track Bitcoin Cash. So I really do not know. Let's see. All right. Okay, here we go. Do you think we even get a bear market again with all the adoption? Seems like only something like a recession would end the bull market. I'm having the same kind of thoughts. Right, with all the adoption that we're seeing here, and if we do get a Bitcoin strategic reserve in the United States, you can bet they're going to have ones in other countries as well. And that dominoes are going to basically be falling at that point, where it's just one country after another, after another, after another, after another, after another is just getting Bitcoin put on their Bitcoin strategic reserves potentially. So yeah, we need to see how this cycle ends. Typically the cycle would end right around October, November, December of next year. And then if it doesn't end at that point and we continue to possibly go up slower but higher, then we might have an extended cycle at that point. And yeah, a recession might be the only thing that kind of stops that. Will any miner mine more coins in a month in 2024 than their record number pre-halving? Number pre-halving here, I think the only one that might be able to do it. Iren already did it. See, Iren here, you can see they mined 439 here. Pre-halving, they were at 353. So they were the ones that did it. Marathon, yeah, they're gonna have a hard time here. They were operating like full steam ahead here in December. 1,800 Bitcoin here. That's not gonna be doable by them. Riot, I think, also mined more here. They're getting close to it. They were at 495 in March. They were at 425. So if you look, it's just right before the halving event, they did surpass that. Terawulf, I know for sure, is not getting near that. Who else do we have here? Hut 8 for sure is not getting near that anytime soon. Hive, same thing. CORZ has been also coming down, so they're not getting to that. Cleanspark is getting close. They were at 806 here. But yeah, that's going to be tough for them. They were mining a lot also at that point. Cypher is not. Bitfarms, March was 286. They got kind of close here after it. But not really in BitDeer, same thing with them. So only a couple that really got there at this point. Okay. What could Bimara top the cycle? If they were able to actually run like they did last cycle, I mean, they could get past $60, $70, $80 at that point, and Bitcoin goes up much higher than we think. And then let's see here. Your mic keeps cutting off. We can't hear you. I think that's an issue with YouTube. We've seen that before where people, they got into the stream, had issues with the mic, and then if they dropped out and came back into it, that did help it. Okay. Yeah, pretty much covered that, I think, for Iren there. So, yeah, I think we're all set here. We're going on about an hour here as it is. We'll call it a day here. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow is obviously, I think it's going to be a short day. Let's see here. You might talk in here. Okay, so we're having some issues with the mic. I'll have to play around with it and see what's going on with it. But we'll see what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, so I won't do a live stream tomorrow. Probably won't do one on Wednesday either. And wow, I'm getting sniffles here really bad. I need a tissue. But we'll see what happens. If I have some time or something like that, maybe we'll come online on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day actually, just to chat, see how you guys are doing and things like that. But other than that, no trading, I believe, December, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Christmas Eve, we might have some trading. I think it's going to be a short day, though. And, yeah, we'll see what happens otherwise, okay? But other than that, if you guys are celebrating Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas. If not, I wish you Happy Holidays. At that point, there's a lot of religions out there. I don't know all of them, so I'm not going to go try listing them all. But I wish you guys the very, very best. Hope you have a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas. I hope you get everything that you wanted for Christmas. And biggest thing I can wish for you guys is obviously health and prosperity. Everything else comes into play at that point if you have those two things here, especially health. If you got health, everything else is perfect. So I wish you all good health into the next year as well. All right. So I'll see you guys either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll be back in the swing of things here. Otherwise, thanks again. Love you all. Have a great night.